What's going on, guys? Matty G back here with you on Football with Flags. Thanks so much for joining us as always. Well, we've already discussed the difficulty of the three groups that we'll see in the Women's Olympic Football Tournament later this summer. But before we get to our prediction video, we want to give you a rundown on each of the 12 teams that you'll see in this summer's tournament and what to expect. Well, who better to start off with than the hosts, France, the first time they've ever hosted for the women's football tournament in the Olympics. Their best ever finish was fourth in 2011. That's right, they're still seeking their first ever podium finish in the Olympics. This side has never won a major tournament either, despite being one of the best teams in women's football for quite some time. They're still managed by Hervé Renard, although he will be leaving the team after the Olympics are through. You can expect this squad to play a possession-based style of play. They're going to look to press high when they can, and keep an eye out for Hervé Renard, their captain and center back, who is a lethal threat in the air with set pieces and corners as a towering figure in the box. Two great strikers for them up top, and Sommer and Diani have combined for 292 appearances for their country with 121 goals. Now, this team did lose out to Australia in the quarterfinals of the World Cup last summer in a penalty shootout that was probably the best penalty shootout we've seen in a major tournament in quite some time, both men or women. France are chomping at the bit to get back at this, and I think they have a great opportunity potentially to make a podium finish, but definitely you should keep an eye out for the hosts. Up next, we have Colombia, the Powder Puff Girls, who currently are at their highest ever ranking in the world rankings right now. They had an impressive run last summer in the World Cup, getting to a quarterfinal. On their way, they beat powerhouse Germany in the group stage and actually led England for a short time in their quarterfinal matchup before getting eliminated. Now, this will be Colombia's third ever appearance in the Olympics. They've never made it out of the group stage, though, and actually they're still looking for their first Olympic win. That is very interesting, though, to note, because guess who they have in their group? France, who just so happened to be their first ever World Cup win back in 2015. So, could they do it against France once again and get a signature win? We'll have to wait and see. But some players to keep an eye out for: Linda Caicedo, one of the world's best right now in the women's game. She's probably going to play on the left-hand side. She's going to cut in whenever possible. Both of her feet are electric. She can get around defenders incredibly well. Great in 1v1 situations. And for the Colombian team altogether, this team counterattacks very well. They love to send numbers forward, and they're very, very exciting in the final third. Another player to keep an eye out for is Mayra Ramirez, who also can score a lot of great goals for this squad. Up next, we have Canada, the Canucks, ranked 8th in the world, and they are the defending gold medal champions. They had an impressive run in 2020, getting past Brazil, the United States, and Sweden in the knockout stages. Now, this team, however, did have a disappointing run in the World Cup last summer, not being able to make it out of the group stage despite being one of the favorites to do so. Still, though, they have a very talented roster. Christine Sinclair, one of the all-time greats in the women's game, is no longer with the squad, but still plenty of talent up top, starting with Jordan Huitema, who's got 21 goals for her country. Still at just 23 years old, she can be a threat in the air, and she's got great feet and can put the ball anywhere on the net. Jessie Fleming in the midfield is going to pull the strings for this side, going to be able to get the ball out wide, passing lines of defense, and keeping possession, and doing a lot of dangerous things for this team, not only in their own half, but getting forward as well. Keep an eye out for Kayleen Sheridan, their goalkeeper, a phenomenal player in the net, and somebody that could really have a huge impact for Canada in this tournament. Now, Canada, again, with that target on their back, they're in a very difficult group, but I think that this squad is built to make another deep run. They're probably going to play in a 4-2-3-1, which is very comfortable considering the number of players in the midfield that you have, not only to secure a good defensive shape, but get the ball forward with numbers as well. The last team to meet in Group A is New Zealand, ranked 28th in the world. They were co-hosts with Australia in the World Cup last summer. Still waiting for their first ever knockout appearance in a World Cup, but they did make the quarterfinals in 2012 of the Olympics. However, in 2020, it was very disappointing with their Olympic run. They did not win a single game, only scored 2 goals, and conceded 10. That's going to be very pivotal for defenders like Allie Riley and Katie Bowen to lock things down in the back and prevent this side from conceding more goals. On the flip side of it, they have only brought 4 midfielders and 4 strikers, and no one on this squad has more than 9 goals to their name in terms of international play. So someone's going to have to step up, or multiple players step up and find ways to score goals for this team, because they're very talented, but they have difficulty at times getting signature wins. Now, they did, when they got through the group stage in 2012 of the Olympics, they got through with 3 points and a 0 on their goal differential. So it's very possible for that to happen again, but they're going to need some help and a bit of luck from other groups if something similar like that is for them to happen and advance. Now on to the United States, starting with Group B. Emma Hayes has finally taken over. No Alex Morgan on this squad either. Now this team obviously has a deep history with the Olympics, 4 gold medals, but had a very, very poor performance in the World Cup last summer, losing to Sweden, hence why they've made the managerial change, and Emma Hayes has come over. Now, again, this team has a lot of experience on their back line, but I'm not totally confident that this back line or group of defenders they have can control games the same way that some groups have in the past of major tournaments. We'll have to wait and see. Mallory Swanson comes back from injury after missing the World Cup, which will be huge for their attack, along with Trinity Rodman, Sophia Smith, and Rose Lavelle and Lindsay Horan are going to highlight the midfield in terms of being able to take games over. And we'll see, though, if this team has had enough time with the short stint of Emma Hayes so far to take her style of play and move forward and make a huge impact in these Olympics. Up next, we have the Copperheads from Zambia. Now, this team is ranked 64th in the world, which I think is the highest ranking of any of the teams in the tournament. But that is not a bad thing. This is actually the highest ranking that Zambia's women's team have ever had, and they've made huge improvements in recent years. Now, this team, as far as I can tell, are taking 3 goalkeepers to the tournament on this 18-player roster, but only one of those have caps at the international level thus far. Barbara Banda has 22 goals for her side in just 10 games. She's a tall physical presence and very difficult to handle out on the field. She does great with hold-up play. Keep an eye out for her. They're going to need that, considering they do have some inexperience in the midfield positions and not a lot of height either. So that'll be interesting as well to see how they set up tactically and formation-wise, trying to maybe supplement some numbers in the middle. Bruce Mwape, their manager, has watched this team go from exiting the group stage in AFCON, the biggest major tournament in Africa, to finishing in 3rd place not too long ago. Not only that, but he helped lead this team to their first ever World Cup last summer, which is huge. They were a part of the Olympics in 2020, and one thing they're going to have to keep an eye out for is their back line and their structure defensively. They conceded 15 goals in the Olympics last time out, including a 10-3 loss to Netherlands and a 4-4 thriller against China. This team can definitely score goals, but they're going to have to make sure that they are much more structurally sound in the back. And now for a team that you cannot overlook, it's Germany, coming off one of their worst performances of a major tournament last summer, getting bumped out of the group stage in the World Cup for the first time ever. Now, the squad did not make the 2020 Olympics. They were champions in 2016, winning the gold medal, but considering not qualifying 3 years ago, and then, of course, with their loss last summer and being embarrassed, they are definitely on a tour for redemption. Now, Alexandra Poppet's going to start with her up top, one of the all-time best for Germany. She's such a threat in the air and around the box with crosses, ball at her feet, being able to turn on players and score in so many different angles. She's definitely going to have to improve. She was good in the World Cup last summer, but not great, not to the standard that we were expecting from her. Now, Leah Schuler, another player to keep an eye out for. She's got 41 goals and 60 appearances for her country. She's definitely, I think, going to be an X factor for this squad if they want to make a deep run. And also keep an eye out for Lena Oberdorf and Jewel Brand, a couple of other players that could definitely play a lot of significance in how well Germany does later this summer. A team I hope that no one is sleeping on are the Matildas from Australia, who are one of the hottest teams in women's international football right now. They co-hosted the World Cup last summer with New Zealand, finishing 4th, their highest ever finish, getting to a semi-final. And they also finished 4th in the 2020 Olympics as well. Tony Gustafsson, their manager, has been around for most of this impressive run the last 4 years, and they have a great presence in the net with Mackenzie Arnold, who is a great shot stopper, along with very intimidating with penalty shootouts as well, which could be very important later in this tournament. They've got a great defensive structure with Claire Polkenhorn leading the way in the back, and they are so dynamic and electric going up front with Sam Kerr, Mary Fowler, Haley Rasso, and Caitlin Ford, and a lot of other great talent to help kind of supplement those names I just mentioned. This is a team that has a very, very dangerous side about them in the attack and have a lot of great numbers that they can throw at you. So they're going to be very impressive and interesting to watch. Starting off with Group C, we'll begin with the world champions in Spain, La Roja. Coming into this as their first ever Olympic appearance, but again, they are defending World Cup champions from last summer. They just won the UEFA Nations League last year as well. There's been movement within their federation and coaching staff, hopefully all for the better at the same time. This team looks great. They are so technically gifted. They are going to dominate possession as much as possible, and Bonmati is arguably the most valuable player in the women's game right now. Now, of course, Salma, Jenny Hermoso, and others are going to play their part in this tournament as well for this squad. And while they are so fun to watch on the ball, they can still at times potentially get hurt if they aren't able to finish those chances, much like the men's side. Remember, while they had an impressive run last summer to win their World Cup, they lost 4-0 to Japan in the group stage. So this side, if they cannot be clinical, can still be beaten, but they're very difficult to get the ball off of. You have to be structurally sound, mentally switched on throughout the entire game against this side, or else they will pick you apart in so many different ways. It's going to be great to watch Spain kind of get back into it with more teams just outside of Europe on this competitive platform and see if they can go take their first ever gold medal as well. Now, for one of the most intriguing sides in this tournament, we just mentioned them when talking about Spain. Japan, a side that had an impressive run in the group stage last summer, not conceding a goal. They did eventually get bumped out by Sweden. I think they were one of the heavy favorites in the competition. And also Sweden knocked them out in the quarterfinals of the last Olympic Games as well. But good news for Japan, Sweden are not involved this time around. So at least they've got that off their back. But we'll see how well this team can put together performances. As we've mentioned, even Spain, the best team in the women's game right now, Japan went and put 4 goals behind them in the group stage last summer. It is possible. They can do it. They can beat the best in the world. They've never won the gold medal. They finished second behind the U.S. in 2012. And again, I think the side's a little young, but still very, very impressive, very technically gifted. They possess the ball very well. They move off the ball incredibly well, and they're so clinical. Again, I keep bringing it up, but still, they put 4 behind Spain in the group stage last year. They just can find ways to put the ball in the back of the net, and they are so, so impressive to that degree. Keep an eye out for Yui Hasegawa in the midfield. She's going to be leading the way, I think, for this group. Kumagai in the back defensively. She's got 151 caps for her country, and what I love the most about this Japanese team right now is out of the 16 field players they have on this roster, 14 have scored for them. I love that. I love the fact that, again, not only can they be clinical, but they share the wealth. So many different players can put the ball in the back of the net. Continuing on with Group C, we have Nigeria, the Super Falcons, ranked 36th in the world. And this side, again, upset Australia in the group stage last summer during the World Cup. An impressive result, getting to the round of 16. And they lost out to England, who were the finalists of that tournament, in penalties. So again, this Nigerian side have a lot of talent, and they can get things done. They are led by Randy Waldrum, the head coach for the women's team at the University of Pittsburgh, who I believe this is his second stint in charge. But Asisat Ashawala is definitely going to headline this squad. A great player up top, played for Barcelona, now plays for Bay FC. And keep an eye out as well for Ndozi, their goalkeeper, and a fabulous player who has great hands, and I think definitely going to be very influential in how well that this squad does in the tournament. But they are physical. They collect 50-50 balls. They don't mind getting into you to win the ball back whenever they can, and they can hurt you on the counterattack. They have so much speed and pace, and if they're able to use that out on the wings and get to the end line and cut inside, or be able to drive out and then cut in maybe around the 18, they can be very dangerous in space. So teams are going to have to be mindful of not giving them too much space in their own half and pushing numbers back, because Nigeria can definitely hurt you in open play. And the last team to cover is Brazil here in Group C. They're ranked 9th in the world. They did have a group stage exit out of the World Cup last summer as well. Very, very disappointing. That was the first time that happened since the 90s. This Brazilian side have had a lot of good results as of late. The really only losses that they've had in recent memory were to France, Canada, United States, and Japan, which you can look and say, well, that's a good record overall because they've had a lot of wins in that time, but they have been losing to most of the teams that they're probably going to have to play if they want to try and get on the podium in this tournament. They have finished top 4 in the Olympics 5 different times. They've got 2 silver medals, but never won at all. Definitely still looking to get that done. Marta, this will be her last, I think, involvement with the team. I was kind of shocked that she was still involved. I thought after last year she'd maybe part ways, but she is in the 18-player roster. Tamirez is a player that you're going to have to look out for as well, a left-footed defender that can get up the field, get involved in the attack, but again, still a good defensive base, somebody to win the ball back as well for this Brazilian side. But a lot of interesting decisions made around this squad as well. No Debinha, no Bia, no Christiane. Left a lot of goals out on the table, maybe for injury or something else. But they do have a lot of youth in this squad. I will say, though, they had an impressive run in the first ever CONCACAF W Gold Cup earlier this year. They finished second behind the U.S. Yasmin is a player definitely to look out for in the midfield. She was involved in the best 11 for the CONCACAF W Gold Cup earlier this year, and somebody I think that can help take them a long way. But definitely, I think maybe a few more questions than answers potentially for this Brazilian side, but we'll have to wait and see how they play in this tournament. Well, guys, thanks again so much for watching. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already done so. And we've got predictions coming for this tournament, which we're very excited about. A lot of great action still coming for the international game with the Euros and Copa America finishing up here shortly. But, guys, make sure you stay tuned and stick around. More content coming your way with the World's Game. And, again, until next time, guys, hope you all have a great day, and we'll see you soon.